Today we will examine the essential properties of water. Water is the only substance found naturally on Earth in all three states: solid, liquid, and gas. This fundamental uniqueness grants it the crucial properties necessary to support life. As we mentioned, water can exist as a solid, liquid, or gas. A solid: when water freezes, it becomes ice. Think of glaciers or ice cubes in your drink. As a liquid, it is water. This is the form we're most familiar with, as in oceans, rivers, or the water we drink. As a gas, it is a vapor. When water heats up, it turns into an invisible gas called water vapor, which is what clouds are made of. The secret to water's superpowers lies in its tiny structure. The chemical formula for water is H2O, which means every water molecule has 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. They are held together by a strong covalent bond. But here is the key. This structure makes water a polar molecule. Think of it like a magnet. The oxygen side is slightly negative and the hydrogen sides are slightly positive. This charged nature is the reason for almost every property we are about to discuss.
Cohesion is one of the fundamental properties of water, which is when water molecules stick to other water molecules. This happens because water is a polar molecule, meaning the oxygen side of the molecule has a slight negative charge and the hydrogen side has a slight positive charge. Because of that polarity, water molecules are attracted to each other. The positive ends of one molecule are pulled toward the negative ends of another. This attraction forms what are called hydrogen bonds, and they're not super strong individually, but when there are millions of them together, they create a really strong force between water molecules, and that's what gives water its cohesive behavior. You can actually see this happening in the photo of the droplets on the spider web. The droplets stay rounded and cling together because all those hydrogen bonds are pulling the water molecules inward, kind of like a tiny magnetic force holding them together. Adhesion is when water molecules stick to other surfaces. This happens because, as I said before, water is polar, so it's naturally attracted to other charged or polar materials. Adhesion is really important because it basically allows water to move and interact with the environment. Like when water touches something like plant tissue, soil, or even paper, the water molecules are pulled toward that surface, and that helps the water spread out, get absorbed, and move into tiny spaces. Adhesion is also a huge part of capillary action, and capillary action is when water moves upward through very narrow spaces. Adhesion pulls the water up along the surface of the tube or material, and then cohesion pulls the rest of the water molecules along with it. Together, adhesion and cohesion allow water to move upward against gravity, which is how plants get water from their roots all the way up to their leaves. So without adhesion, water wouldn't be able to climb or spread into those small spaces, so a lot of natural processes wouldn't work. Because water is polar, it can interact with and pull apart substances that are also polar or charged. Hydrophilic molecules are water-loving because they're polar too. Water surrounds these molecules, forms hydrogen bonds with them, and basically pulls them into solution. And that's why things like salts and sugars dissolve so easily in water. Hydrophobic molecules, on the other hand, are nonpolar like oils. Since they don't have charges for water to grab onto, water can't dissolve them. Instead, water's strong cohesive forces push them away, which is why oil separates from water. So overall, water's polarity gives it the ability to break apart and dissolve more substances than almost any other liquid, which is why we call it the universal solvent. Ice is actually about 9% less dense than liquid water. That means water is heavier, and because of that, it pushes the lighter ice up, making it float to the top. Now, the reason ice is less dense has to do with the way water molecules are structured. Water has these positively charged hydrogen atoms and negatively charged oxygen atoms. When water cools down and starts freezing, the hydrogen bonds adjust to keep the oxygen atoms spaced apart. This spacing is important because it stops the ice from becoming too dense. So unlike most substances that get denser when they get colder, water actually gets a little less dense as it cools, which is why ice floats. Another one of water's fundamental properties is its high heat capacity. Basically, water can absorb a lot of heat before it actually starts to get hot. This is because water has high specific heat, which just means it takes more energy to raise its temperature compared to other substances. This property is really important for our environment because it helps slow down how quickly air temperatures change and keeps extreme temperatures in check. Another cool thing is evaporative cooling, and this happens when the fastest, most energetic molecules leave the surface during evaporation, which cools the object down. For example, when we sweat, the evaporation of that sweat cools our bodies and helps us maintain a steady temperature.
The concept that creates this charged molecule is electronegativity. Oxygen is highly electronegative, meaning it pulls the shared electrons in the H2O bond closer to itself. This unequal sharing creates the partial charges, making water polar. In contrast, nonpolar molecules share electrons equally and have no overall charge. This is why polar and nonpolar substances often don't mix, like water and oil. The pH scale is how we measure how acidic or basic a water-based solution is. It measures the concentration of hydrogen ions in a solution. It's a logarithmic scale, meaning a change of 1 on the scale, say from pH 7 to pH 6, means a 10 times change in acidity. Solutions with a pH below 7 are acidic, like lemon juice, meaning they have a high concentration of hydrogen ions. Solutions with a pH above 7 are basic, like soap. Pure water is perfectly neutral at pH 7. This concludes our overview of the amazing properties of water. Water truly is the foundation of life, and its structure is what makes the world work.